everybody, and welcome back. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday today. Quite a busy day going on here today in terms of weather. We have that big system moving across the center of the country, and even a bit of a surprise severe weather event likely to unfold later this evening into sections of Ohio. So we're dealing with that already right now, and then we are also going to time out those other two storms that we're going to deal with over the next 10 days here throughout the eastern half of the country today. And then we're also going to talk about the long-range pattern and see what we can expect here for kind of once we get past that 10-day time period for a lot of us. But with all that said, if you do like the video, I'd love for you to go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're new here and you haven't already subscribed, I'd love for you to do that as well. We're getting really close to 700 subscribers now, so really some incredible growth we've seen here, and I don't want you to miss out on that. So also hit that bell while you're there, because I do post daily, and we talk about a lot on this channel, and we have some great discussions, including in the comments section. So let me know where you're watching from, and what exactly you would like to hear me talk about in the coming videos as we continue to grow this channel. All right, with all that said, though, let's go ahead and get right into it because we do have a lot to talk about today. So, starting off by looking at our radar today, you can see pretty active weather here ongoing across the east, and this is all going on due to this low pressure that we have here, helping to produce some of that snow up here into the Great Lakes, and produced a good amount of snow as well yesterday throughout parts of Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota. Definitely got some good snow out there, and that is now continuing into sections of the Great Lakes. What this is also doing right now is producing some rain here into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. But what it's going to do later tonight is you see where this low pressure is here, and kind of this bow echo kind of shape here with this line of storms. As that pushes through Ohio today and going through this evening, we're going to have to watch to see if this forms into a pretty strong line of storms with gusty winds. So we're going to talk about that in today's video, and we're going to take a look at that. But kind of a bit of a surprise severe weather threat that has kind of really popped out over the last 24 to 48 hours or so. You can also see this system here on our infrared satellite. You can see all of this bright colors here into New England, indicating those cold cloud tops or stormy weather ongoing there. So a lot of rain falling over there, and then also that snow here into the Great Lakes and up into Canada. And then you can very clearly see our low pressure system spinning here over sections of Illinois and Indiana. So, current hazards that we have right now, we still do have those winter storm warnings ongoing here into northern Wisconsin, sections of Minnesota, up into the UP of Michigan, for that snow that will continue to fall here throughout the next 12 hours or so. Or I guess 6 to 12 hours, I should say. And then we do have those winter weather advisories and even a couple winter storm warnings here into New England as the system pushes through, producing some pretty good snow up that way. We do also have winter weather advisories here through a big section of the Tennessee and Ohio River Valley. As the low pressure system continues to strengthen, it'll really help to whip up some of those winds, and that is why we have these wind advisories in place. Also, you'll notice winter storm watches here out into southeastern Colorado, western Kansas. That is for our next system that will be coming into this weekend, and that's why we already have those watches out there, and we will talk about that system here later on. I did want to talk about tonight's low temperatures. More, I won't say average, but a cooler night than we had last night for sure here across the east. As this low pressure pushes east, it will help to kind of bring some cooler air down behind it, and you can see that out here into the plains. And once we go over the next couple days, that will begin to push east and bring our temperatures closer to average for most of us. So that's tonight's temperatures. Again, find your city. You can see what you can expect tonight. Going into tomorrow, definitely a cooler day than we've had today. We've been almost up near 70 here in Charlotte. Actually was able to wear shorts today walking to class, which personally isn't something I like to do in January. I much rather have to bundle up in a coat. But, you know, we take what we get here and we plan around that. Anyway, though, going into tomorrow, more of a seasonable kind of day, although still above average for a lot of us here in the southeast. 60s and 50s, pretty widespread throughout the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and then 40s and 50s once you get up here into the Mid-Atlantic. and then cooler temperatures here into New England tomorrow. Again, just kind of find where you live, and then your key is here at the bottom to get that temperature forecast for tomorrow, which is Friday. Okay, so let's go ahead and time out the rest of the storm that we are dealing with right now. We do actually have some snow falling right now across sections here of the Midwest, and I didn't want to update that model run. Sorry, I meant to do that earlier. But anyway, you do see we do have some snow falling here up into sections of the Great Lakes, into the UP of Michigan, getting some pretty moderate snow right now, and some leftover back-end snow kind of here into sections of Wisconsin. And that will begin to clear out as we get through the next couple of hours. And we'll take a look at that as we go into the sunset time tonight. Still dealing with some of those snow showers up here into the UP. But the big story will be this line of storms here into Ohio. And I'll talk more about this once we take a look at the Mid-Atlantic, because that map will show this a little bit better. But as we go through tonight, that line of storms will get going through Ohio. And then we'll continue to have some of that snow up into the Great Lakes. Before that mainly begins to clear out. Once we get into overnight tonight around midnight, really just leftover snow showers here for most of us in the Great Lakes, including some lake enhanced snow showers going through the day tomorrow, before clearing up as we get into tomorrow evening and Saturday. So, talking about the severe weather threat in Ohio, it's strange to say, because it's January 19th, is what my watch says. And we're having to look at an enhanced risk of severe weather here for the evening hours in Ohio. So that is, it's just kind of crazy, honestly. But either way, we have to talk about it. So here we go. We have the severe weather threat here into Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, from Cincinnati up through Cleveland, potentially dealing with this strong line of storms today. And the main threat with this will be strong winds. And you can see that here on the next map. We have that 30% chance of seeing damaging winds within a 25-mile radius, I want to say, is how they do this on the wind scale. And you also see kind of this checkered pattern here in that red. What that says is that these could be even stronger than severe criteria winds. So I believe through here you need 59, 60 mile an hour winds to get that severe weather criteria. This indicates that those winds could get upwards closer to 70, 75 mile an hour into parts of central Ohio here. So really crazy stuff, and quite a dynamic system, because we're going to be dealing with these winds in Ohio while we have snow falling in the Northeast. So very interesting stuff to look at, but definitely make sure you're weather aware this evening here into sections of Ohio. And we'll take a look at that now with our model. So once we get into about 4, 5, 6 o'clock, so right about the time that this video should get uploaded, this event should be starting. And we'll likely start with seeing some of these storms begin to fire here into sections of western Ohio. And then as we go through sunset and into the early hours of the night, this line will continue. And notice this kind of bent shape to the line that indicates that you're getting those really strong winds here. And some of those winds will make their way to the surface. And this will definitely cause problems for a lot of us. And I'm afraid it'll likely catch a lot of us off guard, as this hasn't been talked about too much. And then another thing to kind of mention here that's very interesting, as we have this super strong line of these storms, potentially getting some ice on the north end of this as that crosses the lakes, where some of those temperatures are a bit cooler. So that should begin to clear out and maybe even move through the Pittsburgh area as we get closer to 7, 8 o'clock tonight, although it shouldn't be nearly as strong by then. This really should only be a 2 to 3 hour window of these storms being a problem, but on the back end of that, we will have some of these lake effect snow showers ongoing through a lot of places here in the Ohio Valley and into the mountainous regions of West Virginia, and even maybe here into sections of western Pennsylvania tonight into the overnight. Maybe even some of that snow left over tomorrow morning. You can see this lake effect snow. And that will continue through the day tomorrow before kind of dissipating as we get into tomorrow night and into Saturday morning, having much clearer weather here in the Mid-Atlantic. Also, we did have some showers today through sections of the Mid-Atlantic here in the Carolinas. Nothing too crazy there, but that has begun to diminish. And we have seen clearer weather throughout the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic since this morning. So looking at the Northeast now here, We have had that rain really beginning to ramp up as we've gotten into this afternoon, and that will continue into the overnight. We already have some snow falling here into sections of New York, and that's why we have those winter weather advisories through a lot of these areas, and even maybe some sleet mixing in there at times. But really, again, kind of another rainstorm here for the I-95 as we go through tonight. So for our snow lovers in Long Island, Philly, Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, southern, southeastern Massachusetts. Again, another January rainstorm, unfortunately for us. But I do think on the back end of this, once we start getting into tomorrow morning, overnight tonight, whenever we have that heavier snow up here into the ski country, that rain-snow line will kind of try to crash south a bit. Boston, you're going to be right on the edge of this. I think rain mainly for Boston. But as we get into tomorrow morning, watch for that to maybe switch to some quick, heavy, wet snow for an hour or two. And this is mainly into overnight tonight, not really as much tomorrow morning. Sorry about the timing confusion there. But what we will have tomorrow morning is some leftover back-end snow. So likely you'll get a quick burst of snow in Boston, get a bit of a lull before more back-end snow showers begin to work in throughout the day tomorrow. And that could give you a quick inch of snow before clearing out again going into tomorrow night and into our weekend. So, how much snow do we have left to talk about here? Our latest blend of models here, maybe still 3 to 5 inches up here into the UP of Michigan. And where we haven't really had the storm get going all that much yet here into sections of New England, we have a bit more snow. I'd say 5 to 8 inches is a pretty safe bet here throughout sections of Vermont, New Hampshire, and into southern Maine. Boston, hard to tell on this map, but I think 1 inch is probably about a pretty safe bet with that back-end snow. So nothing too crazy there, but better than nothing if you are looking for snow there into the Boston area. But northern suburbs of Boston, 1 to 3 inches, I think is a safer bet. All right, so that's the storm we are dealing with currently. Now we have to talk about our next storm, which will be coming through the area going into this weekend and into the start of next week. So let's go ahead and time that out here. We'll start off by looking at our GFS model. You can see going into overnight Saturday, that's when our conditions really begin to go downhill here for us in the southeast with heavy rain. Don't expect a severe weather threat with this system. That might be a different story with the second system. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but definitely some rainy conditions here into the southeast going into the second half of this weekend, and that will continue once we get into our Sunday morning. Again, kind of this fire hose of moisture. I definitely think kind of the Midlands and coastal plain here of South Carolina, North Carolina, and into southern Georgia could really get this kind of fire hose effect with this system, getting rounds of that heavy rain throughout the day Sunday, really a bit of a washout. And as that is getting going into Sunday afternoon, we'll watch for that snow to break out here into the interior northeast with this storm. So again, a washout for a good section of the southeast on Sunday, especially the further east you are in the southeast, so kind of those Atlantic states here into the southeast. Should clear out of the southeast as we get going into Sunday night later on and into Monday, but that's whenever the snow begins to break out here into the northeast. So you see here into coastal areas of New York, inland areas of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Pennsylvania, getting a really good thumping of snow out of this. Still looks like rain for the I-95 corridor with this storm, but those areas that do get snow here into the further inland areas of the Northeast, sorry, I'm having trouble with my words today, could definitely get a good thumping out of this. I wouldn't be surprised to see some areas, maybe, 6 to 12 inches of snow here in those favored areas here in the center parts of New England. And then as the storm begins to really strengthen as it moves offshore, I think areas of Maine could definitely get a good thumping of snow here as we get into Monday. So just to reiterate the timing on this, I think snow breaks out for those areas that will see it going into Sunday afternoon. That will continue through overnight Sunday. And then as we get into Monday, beginning to clear out from the snow, although still heavy coastal rains here for a big section of southeastern New England and into Maine throughout the day Monday before clearing out, going into Monday night and Tuesday with this system. But what that will then do is set the stage for our next system, which we will talk about here in a minute. So looking at the same storm here on our European model, again, a lot of the same stuff, a bit of a washout here on Sunday for the southeast. And then getting into Sunday afternoon, that snow begins to break out into the interior northeast. And you can see that here with the Euro model. Once again, going into, this is Sunday night, that snow continues. And the Euro is a bit further south with this storm, so that rain-snow line is a bit closer to Boston than the GFS model shows. So, you know, we can still fine-tune this within 100 miles or so of where that rain-snow line will be. And as we get into the coming days, we'll have our short-range models, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more about who exactly sees snow and who sees rain. But I definitely think coastal areas in the rain right now, and then the further inland you go, the better shot at seeing that snow. Here on the Euro still actually shows a bit of snow here on Monday afternoon. Maybe even for areas a bit closer to I-95, so Boston here, maybe kind of some sleet, snow, rain kind of mixed bag into New York and Philadelphia with the back end of this system, and maybe even a pretty good thumping of snow throughout Massachusetts going into Monday afternoon. So Euro prolongs the storm a little bit more than the GFS does, and brings a bit more of that snow to the coast on the back end of that system. So now that we talked about the first storm, let's talk about the second storm here with these models. Once again, we'll go back to the GFS here. GFS gets this next storm really cranking here into the southern plains going into Tuesday, so right after the other system moves in. And what the GFS does with this is really cranks this up and cuts it inland through the Tennessee Valley going into Tuesday and Wednesday. So with this storm, we will have to watch for a bit of a severe weather threat here into the southeast. Nothing set in stone, no areas outlined by the Storm Prediction Center right now, but we'll have to watch these trends. And the more that this trends further inland and the more of that Gulf air we can tap into, the higher of a threat we will have with this system. But this system then looks to deepen over the Ohio River Valley, and I think we could really get quite the snowstorm here throughout sections of the Midwest and into the interior Northeast with this third storm. So trends have not been great for coastal areas over the past 24 hours, but I probably should have seen this coming, really, considering how this winter has gone. But what I can guarantee you is somebody is going to get absolutely rocked by this third storm. And right now, I would favor sections of the Midwest here. And then, of course, we'll watch for that severe weather threat into the southeast here into the middle of next week. GFS here, though, does bring some of that snow up into the interior Northeast. Kind of a case where it looks like the rich get richer with this next storm. And we'll also take a look at the Euro here. The Euro does have some differences compared to the GFS with this storm, and we'll talk about that here. So the Euro, and we'll see this better on our next map, really dives this thing a bit further south here into the central and southern, well, I should say southern plains, really, and strengthens it and gets quite the snowstorm even into Oklahoma here, which the GFS has not shown so much, but quite the battle between the models here throughout this area of the southern plains, and we'll take a look at that here with the Euro now. You can see the Euro really cranks this thing up down here into southern Texas, getting quite the winter storm here into Oklahoma. But what the models do have in common is cutting that up through the Tennessee and Ohio River Valley, bringing quite the snowstorm to someone here in the central eastern half part of the country here. And once again, quite a potent line of storms it looks like here in the Euro. So we'll watch for that severe weather threat into the southeast with this next, or with this third system, I should say. Euro here, a bit more favorable with snow into the northeast. It has been compared to the GFS for the past couple runs, but with this latest run here on the Euro from this afternoon, shows pretty solid snow here through Boston, much of Connecticut, Rhode Island, close into Long Island, and then rain here closer towards the mid-Atlantic into Philadelphia here on the front end of this storm. And really cranks this up. Again, this will be a really close call for a lot of us here along the I-95 with this storm. But I do feel confident interior areas here of the Northeast can get pretty well thumped with this, much like the storm we're dealing with this weekend. So, looking at those snowfall chances here, this is the storm going into this weekend. You can see the bullseye here with our GFS ensembles here into the interior Northeast. I-95 not nearly as great, but I do think Boston, if I were to be somewhere on I-95, I think Boston has the best chance at getting some of that snow. And then with the second storm here on the GFS, you can see a lot wider of a bullseye here, even those snow chances down here into the Tennessee River Valley. So Tennessee watching out for this still. St. Louis, I think, maybe could be a good place for this storm. But then once again, does bring a pretty big thumping of snow here into the interior northeast with this system going into the middle of next week. So looking at the same thing with the Euro here. This next storm we're dealing with this weekend, again, you can see that bullseye here. It's going to be a very fine line between that rain-snow line, and it'll be close for a lot of us. But I think interior sections here of New York, Pennsylvania, through ski country is going to get quite the snowstorm out of this. And then with the second storm, again on the Euro, watch these chances really increase down here into sections of Oklahoma, Texas. So some discrepancies there between the models. We'll iron those out. But then as we get into the middle and second half of next week, the Euro here bringing these chances through the Ohio River Valley and Midwest and then up into the Northeast. So again, it's going to be a very fine line between who sees that snow and who doesn't. But we will continue to talk about this throughout the next couple days and further fine-tune those details. All right, so something I did want to show here, and this video is running on pretty long now, but it's all right, we'll get through it, is kind of the velocity map mode here, or the energy in the atmosphere with these storms. So looking at this now, I'll run you through this. This is our GFS model. So this right here is the storm that we're going to be dealing with this week, and you can kind of see this trough here, and you'll watch that push up through the northeast. And this is going to help to explain why we have some discrepancies with our models with that third storm. So there's the weekend storm. Now watch the third storm on the GFS here. You can see it digs down here, down into Texas, and then ejects northward, but it doesn't really get going here until it gets over the Midwest. And then it pushes that through the Northeast and New England. As for the Euro here, what you see here with the third storm is you can see this thing really gets going already down here into the Four Corners. This thing is really starting to strengthen, and then that ejects over Texas, and that's what helps the Euro here show more of that snow here into the southern plains and into the Midwest compared to the GFS, and then the Euro a bit of a better track for snow in the Northeast. As for after this, I know a lot of us here in the Southeast want to see snow. I don't see anything right now on the horizon. What I will point out here is that after we get through this third storm, the GFS tries to bring a piece of energy here through the Southeast, going closer to the 7 to 10 day period. So this is really out there. But to credit the GFS, the Euro does show something somewhat similar. It gets kind of a piece of energy from the northern stream to kind of dive here through the Southeast. But right now, really nothing, but we can watch it and see how it trends. So looking long range now, after all of this, you can see here, once we get into that 7 to 10 day period, after we get through these storms, that will help to lock in a cooler pattern here into the eastern half of the U.S., and that's whenever we'll have to watch out for if we get any other kind of question marks from storms while we have this cold air funneled in from the first storms. And it looks like that pattern tries to hold on until about day 10. The GFS kind of tries to bring the southeast ridge back into the picture here. As for the, well, actually what I'll show you here before we look at the Euro is how that translates in terms of temperatures. So as we get through these storms here within the next week, you can see those blues working their way through the eastern United States, so locking into that cooler pattern. But once we get past day 10, you see those reds try to poke their way back in, kind of fighting between that blue and red, going longer term as we kind of have that southeast ridge fighting that cooler air up in Canada. So looking at the Euro here with this, again, once we get through this active pattern looking long range, we get that cooler weather to kind of lock itself in for a little bit here across the east. And then as we get past day 10 here on the Euro, you see that southeast ridge really try to work its way back into the picture going into the start of February. What does that mean in terms of temperatures? Again, cooler weather kind of tries to lock in here over the next 7 to 10 days. And then once we get past that day 10, it's going to be quite the battle again between those cooler temperatures that are kind of locked up here into Canada and this southeast ridge. So what that does mean is we could potentially get or continue an active track kind of through this area, but we really need some blocking up here north to kind of help keep the cold air settled in here to the east and keep that storm track from cutting up here, which we've kind of had to deal with all winter. So we'll watch out for that. Climate Prediction Center here for 8 to 14 days. Relatively average to below average here across the east. Sections of Florida likely will be warmer just because you're more affected by that southeast ridge. And in terms of precipitation, again, it looks like we continue an active track. We'll just have to try to time that up with some kind of cold air. So this was a bit of a longer video, actually, longer than I expected it to go, but I tried to be a little bit more detailed in today's video and not rush my way through it as much as I have in other videos. So anyway, if you did like the video, go ahead and hit that like button, and of course subscribe if you haven't already, because we're getting really close to 700, and that is a super cool goal that I am excited to get to. And something I will point out here, something I'm hoping to see before this winter is over, and I think we might not. We'll see. Climatology says we should, but I'm hoping to see some kind of snow here into the southeast. This is my hometown of Pickens here. So if you're from the upstate, maybe you've been through Pickens, maybe you haven't, but this is that snowstorm we got last year and got 8 inches of snow, which was super cool to see. And I hope to see some snow back home again with those beautiful white covered mountains before the winter is all over. So maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't think so within the next 10 days, unfortunately, or at least definitely not the next 7, maybe beyond 7, we'll see. But anyway, if you want to see snow just like me, let me know in the comments, and we can talk about it. We can talk about some of our favorite snowstorms we've seen, and continue to hope for some before the year is over. But with all that said, that's enough rambling on from me. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure that you're staying prepared there in Ohio. But I will make sure to post another video tomorrow, and with that, I will talk to you all then.